Capital City Sunday.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed members of Congress on Wednesday amid growing tensions in the Middle East. The Prime Minister attempting to defend Israel's military operations in Gaza in hopes of garnering additional support from the U.S.
We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
More than 100 House Democrats and 60 senators skipped Netanyahu's remarks in protest of his, quote, excessive response that has contributed to the growing number of Palestinian casualties. Vice President Harris was also notably absent for her second campaign rally as the presumptive Democratic nominee.
And I would not expect someone who just became the presumptive, I think, Democratic nominee in the last 48 hours to, be in D.C. In reality, this, I don't think, was exactly an address of importance. And I think that's why many Democrats did not go today.
Wisconsin Representatives Mark Pocan and Gwen Moore also among that list. Republicans accusing Harris of putting politics over Israel's allyship with the U.S.
To make the decision not to come is a major symbolic decision for the vice president to have made. I think that was the wrong decision. I think she should have been in attendance. I think it's to the benefit of everyone. On the Republican side, you've seen unquestionable support for Israel.
President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris met separately with Netanyahu on Thursday. Harris expressing support for Israel's right to defend itself and concerns for those suffering in Gaza. With me now on the show this morning is Quentin Wathum-Ocama, president of Young Democrats of America. Quentin, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Quentin, I want to first talk about the polling that we are seeing since Vice President Harris was formally endorsed by President Joe Biden as the potential Democratic nominee. She is leading the polls for young voters. Can you talk about how we're seeing a shift in how she's appealing to young voters versus President Joe Biden?
Well, I think when it comes down to it, it is just, the appeal obviously is very surface level. She is 59. She is a generation younger than Joe Biden. I think that paired with, the historic nature of her candidacy being a woman of color, South Asian, Black, I think is really propelling and it's appealing to young voters on top of a really, really strong digital and social media campaign put on organically and by the Harris campaign. It's really exciting young voters. And I think young voters have been saying they just wanted to see something new. They did not want to see a Trump-Biden rematch. And they have gotten that, and they are responding positively. And I think that's what we're seeing in the polls.
Vice President Harris met with the Prime Minister earlier this week and ultimately called for a ceasefire and condemned Israel's response to the war in Gaza. I just want to get your take on how we will continue to see that play out as we head into November.
I think for the vice president, this is going to be a big thing, especially as colleges this summer and fall come back and we really see that organizing and energy happen on campus. This is a big thread to needle for the vice president. Calling for a ceasefire, being really forceful with that language. I think some of the things that we've seen and how she reacted to Netanyahu's address to Congress, those are going to go a long way in building back some of that support that has eroded for Democrats across the country because of the ongoing war in Gaza. And I'm really, really, I think you're going to see the vice president continue to really thoughtfully engage in this topic. I think she's going to be really just very careful as well. We have to get we've lost a lot of support. We lost a lot of young folks who are motivated third party or motivated to the couch. So by doing this, at least she is being able to build back some of that support that we've kind of lost and eroded. And I'm really, really, I'm very positive in what I've seen so far.
Obviously, the ongoing war in the Middle East will be a top issue for young voters, but what will be some other issues that the vice president will need to lock in on as she continues to campaign?
I think you're going to hear a lot. I think you're going to hear a lot about climate change. That is an issue that is top of mind for young voters. I think you're also going to hear a lot on student loans, debt. That's something that's going to come up. And I think you're going to also just hear a lot. I mean, let's be honest, reproductive rights is going to be one of the biggest things on the ballot, not just for this race, but other races across the country. I think the vice president is really well qualified, especially as a former attorney general, somebody who served in the Senate Judiciary Committee, to really talk about kind of the threat to reproductive freedom across the country. And if those are the things that she's talking to, that's how we're going to motivate our base, get young voters re-excited, and turn out and vote in November.
Quentin Wathum-Ocama, President of Young Democrats of America, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.